Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and this is my first impressions look on the Air Jordan 36. So this shoe is going for 185 bucks, a very premium price, obviously very expensive. I mean, Jordan's line has always been expensive, so obviously the price isn't really surprising. If you guys do want to cop, I'll leave a link in the description box. Let's get it started right off with the Tracciones. So in this colorway, we have a fully translucent outsole, and as you guys all know, I don't really like fully translucent outsoles. Usually the performance isn't as good as the solid rubber counterpart, but anyways, that's just in like some cases. Sometimes a translucent outsole can be just as good as a solid rubber as well. So it's just in my experience, it can be on and off. But anyways, in this outsole, we have pretty much a full-on herringbone throughout this entire outsole. And we can see here in the forefoot, the cutout for the forefoot zoom unit, which is bottom loaded. Kind of here in the middle of the shoe, we can see the Jumpman logo. And then directly in the middle of the shoe where the Eclipse Plate is, we can see a cutout for the number 36. When I first saw it, I was like, what is this? Because it doesn't look like the number 36. It's a pretty weird font, but it is the number 36. And then here in the heel, we can see a cutout for the Zoom Strobel unit. So it's just a little plastic window that says Air Zoom on it. So how does the traction feel? It feels freaking phenomenal right now. So just trying it on my wood floors, it has an insane bite, and which I really like. And also it's a really loud squeak. So it's very reminiscent of like just past Jordan models. Remember the Jordan 29, that was insane. The Jordan 28, the Jordan 30, I mean, they're all squeaky, you know what I mean? I feel like the 35 and the 34 weren't as squeaky. The 35 definitely is like the loudest, I would say, out of all of these. The 33 was pretty damn squeaky though. But anyways, yeah, the 36, the traction is feeling really good. And as far as the durability goes, the rubber seems pretty hard, and also the grooves are very deep, and there are a lot of grooves as well on this. So I feel like durability actually will be pretty good if you're playing on outdoor court as well. As far as the heel to toe transition goes, it feels very smooth, right? So here in the heel, we have pretty much a fully exposed midsole, although it's probably just a Phylon. And also there is a pretty curved or rounded shape here, so it doesn't feel clunky or anything. And coming here into the forefoot, we have a very nice curved shape as well. As far as the forefoot flex goes, there's not a whole lot of forefoot flex, maybe just a tiny bit. So that kind of sucks, but there is a lot of curve, so I feel like that's not a huge deal. So overall, heel to toe transition feels pretty damn smooth in the shoes so far. Alright, moving on to the cushioning setup, which is my favorite part about the shoe, right? So here in the Jordan 34, of course they introduced the Eclipse Plate to us, same with the Jordan 35, right? But here in the 34, this Phylon was really stiff, and it didn't really compress all too much. Same thing here in the 35. The 35, I would say, is softer than the 34, but it was still kind of stiff. The 36, on the other hand, it actually feels kind of soft, and there is a lot more compression compared to the Jordan 34 and the Jordan 35. And the cushioning setup is upgraded from the 34 and 35, right? So in 34 and the 35, we had a very large volume zoom unit here in the forefoot, as well as a smaller zoom unit in the heel. I mean, the 35 was a bigger zoom unit in the heel, but pretty much the same, right? But here in the 36, we have a full-length zoom Strobel unit with a bottom-loaded forefoot zoom unit, as well, as you guys can see from the cutout here on the bottom of the shoe. And it feels really similar to the KD13, or I guess like the KD12 as well, because the zoom Strobel is pretty much right underneath your foot, right? So when you look at the insole, there are holes in the actual insole, I guess, to try to show you that there is zoom Strobel in the shoe, I guess. But as far as the insole goes, the insole reminds me of the KD12 a lot. It's pretty much like a styrofoam, like a pretty stiff plastic. And then if you remove the insole, you guys can see kind of like the zoom Strobel, it has a cloth over it. It reminds me a lot of the PG4. Remember the PG4 full-length Air Strobel has like that cloth over it? So I thought that's what they just did in the Air Strobel unit, because you know, in the KD12, the KD13, and also the KD14 and the Zoom GT Cut, where they all have Zoom Strobel units, they didn't have any type of cloth covering it. But in here in the Jordan 36, they do. But anyways, it doesn't really matter. It still feels very similar to the Zoom Strobel units found in the KD14, KD13, KD12, and the Zoom GT cut. So it feels extremely bouncy, and I also really like the softer foam here in the heel. So yeah, I mean, it feels very nice and bouncy, and I really like how they have another shoe that has a full-length Zoom Strobo setup. Obviously, if you don't like that feeling, you're probably not going to like this setup, but I do. The court feel seems pretty good as well, and overall I feel like I'm going to enjoy this cushioning setup a lot. Here the Eclipse Plate is a little bit different though from the 34 and the 35. So the 34 and the 35 was just like a hollowed out plastic piece, right? But here in the Jordan 36, they don't even call it an Eclipse Plate. Like when I was looking at the tech specs on Nike.com, they literally just called it a hollowed out section between the midsole and the outsole. So anyways, here on the bottom, we can see the rubber outsole obviously, and a plastic piece that's connected to it. So obviously that'll give it a little bit more support so it doesn't flop around if it was just rubber. And then right underneath your foot, we have this thicker plastic piece with this kind of like dimpled pattern and the Jordan Jumpman logo. So it's not like all one piece, you know, like a hollowed out circle like the Jordan 34 and the 35 was. Also here on the midsole, we have like a black speckled pattern here in this colorway on the foam, and then going around kind of like the perimeter of the midsole, there is like a plastic piece that kind of cages the foam a little bit. I feel like they did it more for aesthetic purposes. And then here in the heel, I'm not quite sure what this is, but there is like a very cool iridescent glow to it, and it kind of looks like maybe like a DNA double helix pattern or like a wave or something like that. All right, moving on to the material. So they're calling this Leno weave, right? And it's backed by TPU, and this material is extremely thin, like the thinnest material I've ever seen pretty much. And it reminds me of the Kobe 360. So you can actually see the inside of the shoe, right? So from the toe box coming here all the way into the midfoot, it's pretty much see-through, and you can even see your finger through it. And if you look closely, this material looks to be made of like a ribbon with like a cross section of TPU strands, right? And that's pretty much all it is. There's really nothing underneath it. It's just that material. That's how paper thin. I would even say it's thinner than paper. So obviously that does raise concern for durability, but it feels extremely minimal and very, very lightweight on foot. Here in the tip of the toe, we have kind of like a synthetic suede material that's fused to this Leno weave for extra added durability. And then as far as the tongue goes, here on the bottom of the tongue we have is pretty much made of a neoprene material and has a good amount of stretch, and it also has a couple of ventilation holes. And then on top of the tongue, it seems to have like a leather material with a very small amount of padding. And then on the inside of the tongue, it says Air Jordan. And then coming here into the ankle area, there's basically no padding, or a very small amount of padding. So like on foot, this shoe or this upper feels extremely minimal and very, very lightweight. I like how it feels. Like when you look at it, it doesn't look very lightweight, but then like when you put this shoe on, it feels really, really lightweight. So I love what they did with the materials. And as far as the fit goes, I went true to size, and it fits really, really snug, right? So lengthwise, I would say I'm true to size. Pretty much everyone should be good to go. The tip of my toes pretty much goes right to the edge of the shoe, right? But the fit is extremely narrow and also extremely snug here in the toe box, which personally I like, right? I like to have a very snug fit in my shoes, but like even for me, it's pretty damn snug. So I feel like if you don't like that, I would suggest going up half a size just for a little bit of extra breathing room. And then even for like a small amount of people, I feel like that might even be a little too snug. So maybe even go up a full size. You know, that's how snug this shoe fits for me. So just watch out for the fit. But for me personally, I really like it. And also, I don't know, like this material doesn't seem like stretchy at all. I mean, most materials stretch out over time, you know what I mean? Even leather materials. So I feel like this material will stretch out, but like I don't think it'll stretch out all too much either. And also on this back pull tab, it says 36 and Nike Air. Also, another weird thing is that here in the back, we have this like plastic tab. It's pretty much all one piece. You know, this plastic tab extends all the way here, pretty much around the eyelets, and goes around all the way into the back. And as far as the support and lockdown goes, I mean, Jordan brand, as you guys all know, has never had any issues with support, right? So for lateral containment, you're gonna be good to go. So this fused material actually stiffens up the material a good amount. So even here at the tip of the toe, I feel like you're gonna be good. But even if that wasn't there, the foam does come up a lot here in the forefoot and here in the midfoot to act as a sidewall for lateral containment, and also here in the heel, right? So I love how this looks. It's very functional, and the aesthetic looks great. And then here in the heel, like I mentioned before, we have an internal TPU heel counter, so lateral containment, you're probably gonna be good. And in lateral stability, this shoe is pretty wide, so I don't think there's gonna be any issues with lateral instability either. For the ankle support though, right now it doesn't feel like it restricts ankle movement that much. You know, it feels pretty comfortable actually. So I like how that feels for my ankles so far, because usually I prefer to play in low tops. All right, moving on to the weight, Jordan Brand actually says that this is their lightest shoe so far in his entire line. So I'm actually very curious to see. I mean, feeling it, it feels really light in hand. So I feel like it'll be like, what, 11 ounces? Okay, so 11.85 ounces. And let's check the other pair, and it says 11.82 ounces, right? So the Jordan 35 was like 12 point something. Yeah, so 12.98, basically 13 ounces. So the Jordan 36 is actually considerably lighter than the 35, and the 34 I feel like was a little bit lighter than the 35, right? So 12.42 ounces. So yeah, I guess it is correct, you know, in saying the Jordan 36 is the lightest shoe. I mean, if we look at the 33, this thing was like 16 ounces. Yeah, 16.01 ounces. And then the 32 was freaking heavy. The 31 was heavy. The 30 was heavy, you know what I mean? So I like the direction that Jordan Brand is going for. Make a very lightweight shoe. Make it feel super minimal, but also make the shoe have extreme support with really good traction and explosive cushion. I just like what they're doing with their shoes, you know what I mean? And as far as the aesthetics go, I love it. I feel like I even like it better than 34 and the 35. I'd have to say out of the three shoes that use the Eclipse Plate, it's the 36 first for me, and then the 34, and then the 35. So tell us what you guys think looks the best down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, the Jordan 36 is feeling real nice. It feels like an updated version of the 34 and the 35, you know, like an updated cushion. It's bouncier, the zoom is right underneath your foot, it's full length, traction still seems top tier. I also like the softer foam here in the heel. The material also is a lot thinner. I mean, the 34 was really thin as well, but then the 35 also felt pretty minimal and thin, but obviously the 36 just takes it to another level. And also it's lighter than the 34 and the 35 too. So I'm really liking the 36 so far, and I definitely feel like it'll be a top tier performer. It just sucks that, you know, $185 is pretty expensive, but other than that, I'm liking the shoe a lot so far. So anyways, that about concludes my first impressions of the Air Jordan 36. Again, if you guys want to cop, I'll leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.